When we think of superstition, we think of black cats, witches, and things that might cast bad luck onto us. And out of paranoia and fear, no matter how daft it sounds, some of us still abide by the rules. To undo a hex that could possibly have been a bad omen sounds a little far-fetched. Cast your mind back to a time when these superstitions were believed fully by small towns and villages. The hills of the Peak District are surrounded by mystery of such beliefs. With no internet and mobile phones back then, communication was passed down by word of mouth. Exaggerated stories, but within the stories lies an element of truth. And hundreds of years later, they can be still spoken about today. The one story that is shrouded in mystery is the death of poor John Turner of Saltersford. He was classed as a bit of an explorer, as he travelled out of his comfort zone to make deliveries to the nearby villages and market towns, such as Macclesfield and Bollington. Those that lived in John's small community wouldn't venture no further than the settlements that were dotted around the Pennine slopes. They lived, worked, and died within a few miles of the places they were born, finding love and experiencing life within the locality of the area. Around 1755, John was 29 years old, and he was working the trade routes of Derbyshire and Cheshire, accompanied by his pack horse that carted him and his goods around the beautiful hillsides. But on a harsh Christmas Eve, things would take a sinister turn. Legend has it that John was returning from Northwich when a snowstorm hit, and he was open to the elements of the harsh terrain. With no sign of him arriving back home, the next day his family battled through the heavy snow, only to find his horses abandoned on the hillside. And just a few yards up the path lay the dead body of John Turner, who by this point was frozen solid and blanketed in snow. Upon discovering his body, it was documented that the print of a woman's shoe was found by his side, imprinted in the snow.
Look, I'm not lying. I could see like this woman's shoe imprint in the snow.
The echoes of his death was a massive shock to the community and brought immense sadness to his family.
What happened to him?
But shortly after the body was discovered,
Poor John.
it seemingly disappeared. This aroused suspicion in the area, as word started to spread that highwaymen and bandits were to blame for his death, on top of the local myths and urban legends that something more sinister might have occurred. The powers of the supernatural. But whatever happened to John Turner that day, only he will know. And the disappearance of his body is subject to anyone's guess. Today, a marker on the remote hillside has remarkably survived throughout the years, thought to be over 260 years old, as a constant reminder of John Turner's life and the mysterious events that took place that very day. A chilling and haunting reminder of the past.
So as you can see behind me, it doesn't get much prettier than this, does it? It's absolutely stunning area of the northwest, really. Now, I'm sort of nestled in Macclesfield in the Peak District here, and When I read about this story, I knew it was one that I had to come and visit and had to revive it because it just intrigued me. It totally gripped me. Now, it's the story of John Turner, which you will have already seen some of the history in the beginning of the video. But, you know, it's not that common that you get to see a sort of tablet or a memorial stone or a death stone dedicated to someone losing their life. Now, not only is that interesting and intriguing, it's what's written on the back of it too. You know, sorry, I'm a little bit out of breath. It's what's written on the back. Now, the single footprint of this woman's shoe just adds sort of mystery to the whole story. You know, was it a highway robbery? Was it just the formation in the snow that looked like a shoe? Because don't forget, back then, you're talking, especially this area, 1600s, 1700s, even the 1800s, this whole landscape that you can see behind me, it's steeped in superstition. And Macclesfield was a very superstitious sort of farming town. Now, you know, everything was word of mouth. There was no internet. There was no sort of newspapers, and especially back then in these areas, getting your hands on a newspaper, I think would have been quite difficult. So it was basically word of mouth, and even though there will be some truth to these stories, there is a lot of hocus pocus around it. All around these hillsides, there's anything from death to murder, even to witches and witchcraft. But the story of John Turner is one of that is just so intriguing. And today we're going to go and locate the actual stone where his poor body was found. And not only that, I'm going to take you somewhere that's quite special that I've stumbled across that's connected to this whole thing. So sit back, get your popcorn out and get ready, because this one is a very strange one. So as you can see, it's beautifully silent, and I'm joined by the sheep in the distance and the rolling hills around me. But if you just look, now this is one of the strangest things I've ever seen or ever come across. So this is the actual plaque, or the death stone, however you want to call it, of John Turner. Now I'm just going to read this out to you. It says, "Here John Turner was cast away in a heavy snowstorm in the night in or about the year 1755. Now the strangest thing on the back reads this. It says, "The print of a woman's shoe was found by his side in the snow where he lay dead." How eerie is that? Now, like I say, a lot of these sort of tales from back in the day, you know, they were exaggerated, or there'd be some sort of truth to him. Now, obviously, he was found here, he was laid dead, but the footprint just really throws me off, because I'm thinking, well, was he murdered? Was it a sort of highway robbery? Or was there a print in the snow that sort of looked like a woman's shoe? You know what I mean? That they just sort of put two and two together and said, oh, it was a woman's shoe. Like, who knows? But this is absolutely, I mean, this is a part of history. And the story of John Turner, the mystery around his death, it just adds to it even more. And it's quite crudely and sinisterly wrote. How they worded things back then always intrigues me. But nestled away in this beautiful, tranquil sort of spot, you know, an unfortunate event took place right here. And it's the sad resting place of poor John Turner. So how strange is that? It's great to see that there's something dedicated to somebody losing their lives, you know, hundreds of years ago. But the circumstances that surround it are just so bizarre. But like I say, this is one of many things that happened around here that was sort of strange and mysterious. And there's a place I'm going to be taking you to now, which was built off the back of superstition and all the sort of hocus pocus stories that went on around this area.
The story of Ellen Beach and Anna's Balderston is one that struck fear into the residents of Rainow. And in 1656, they were both tried, convicted, and hung for the supposed devilish and evil acts of witchcraft. Spells were cast upon villagers of the community. Subsequently, all the victims fell ill under very mysterious circumstances, and the two women were to blame.
May the spell be cast upon them and rid them from this village.
It's believed that suicides, homicides, and suspected witches were all often buried at crossroads, as ancient beliefs say that those who are likely to return from the dead and haunt the living become confused by the splintered nature of the crossroads, and subsequently find themselves led away from the community that they were once a part of. Given the history of such wicked stories that have taken place over the decades and centuries around this area, from witchcraft to murder, bad luck on crops and farmers, Jenkins Chapel is believed to have been quickly erected in 1755 out of suspicion of such tales. And you guessed it, it's built on a crossroads. If true, you can only imagine the hysteria and worry that people from these villages must have been going through, as the dark arts for those who believed in it wasn't something to be messed with.
So here we are, and this is Jenkins Chapel. And if there was ever a creepy graveyard to film, then this is definitely the one. But this, like I say, this has been built hurriedly. It was built quick off the back of all the superstition and all the sort of tales that have happened and gone on around this area. And it was a place where the villagers needed a place to sort of worship as a means of protection, really. Because like I say, back then there was a very, very superstitious. But it says here, John Baptist Chapel was, I think it was erected in June 1733. So this place is absolutely ancient. We're gonna see if it's open and have a little look in. So here we go. Wow. Ooh, wow. Absolutely freezing. Now this place is original as it gets, because it's not been altered since the day it was put up. Oh my god, it's actually open. Wow, look at this. Wow. Wow. Look at these old pews. This is absolutely ancient. God, it's so cold. So still. Look at the shot out the window there. I'm actually in awe. Did not expect this to be open. Look at the pews here. The original flags that are down on the floor. No way, look at that gallery at the top. There's a gallery. The door open as well. Wow. Little room here, little storage room or something. Wow. This is as good as it gets. It's beautiful. You know, in my mind's eye, I'm sort of picturing the villagers, sort of the women in the shawls, hunched over praying, and the old farmers with the flat caps on, praying. It must be where there was a Bible as well. Wow, look at this. I know it's a place of worship, but It's definitely got that strange vibe to it. Let's just come off. Leave that there, I'm not gonna mess around with it. But can you imagine like the locals coming here for a place, you know, they're coming here to sort of everything that was going on around the village at the time. Like I say, even with the stories of witchcraft and stuff, this was a place of refuge for them to sort of, you know, feel safe and pray that better times were coming in the village. And that whole gallery is held up by that one single beam there. Wow. Wow, look at that, just clocked on the floor there. It's an actual headstone. Wow, look at that. So it's along the lines of is it Reth, or normally resteth in it, the body of Ed, does that say? Edward maybe? Turner? No way, that's Turner as well. Wonder if it's related to John Turner. It says of the something, is it Saltersford? That's the area we're in now. Who departed this life February the 7th, 1888, aged 80 years old. Wow. So this is actually somebody's like grave right here, or headstone. It's possibly have been moved, but from the graveyard into here. But look at this, look at them. They're actually like labelled here. Pew 1, Pew 2. And it's so cold. You can open these. Should we say in one? Wow. I'm actually like over the moon that this place is open. God, this is history at its finest. This is what filming videos and documenting videos like this is all about. I'm absolutely over the moon. But you can actually feel the sort of, how can I put it? You can feel the history of the past in here, that's for sure. And I bet you any money there's not many people from Salford been in here either. What an absolute gem of a chapel. So I'm just going to take you for a wander around this part of the graveyard. I mean, look how old this is. This is one, even like the crows. It's just got that eerie vibe to it, hasn't it? But some of these graves are absolutely ancient, and I've just noticed this one here. It's like it's a new one in 2020. Just take you over here. So these are obviously like the people that have lived probably most of their life around here. But all of these graves that you see, these ancient graves, these will be the old farmers that have absolutely, you know, they've worked the whole life around this area. Over the years, they would have lived and died only hundreds of yards from where I'm stood today. But look at that, that almost looks like it was an old farm maybe. And then they've added this extension where the gallery is at the top. But this is so old, so old. And it's one of these places, when I come to film these videos, these are like, you know, you can, when I say you can feel the history, you actually can. You can feel the age of these places. It's almost like you can sort of see the past, like going in that chapel, then in the pews, people sat down in the benches. You could almost, in your mind's eye, see people huddled over. You know, it's howling, it's windy outside, it's sleet and snow and rain, and they would have been seeking some form of refuge inside this beautiful chapel. But strange times, wasn't there? when you look back at witchcraft plaguing villages like this and strange stories of like people casting spells and stuff, it sort of it makes you wonder. It must have been petrifying, do you know what I mean? And then seeing something, they basically erected this so fast because they must have been in such terror, the locals. They must have been in terror of all these stories flying about, and this was a place for them to come and sort of, you know, make them feel safe really, and cast away any bad spells. But what an absolute gem of a find, and I'm so lucky and privileged to have actually have gone inside this beautiful historic chapel. Right, so there it is. Now that was the story of John Turner and Jenkins Chapel and the mystery that surrounds this area. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching this video. I do like to do these videos that are a bit further afield from time to time because the stories are just too good not to revive. So if you enjoyed the video, you know, I really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel for more stuff like this. And ultimately it just helps the channel grow that little bit. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much, and until the next one, I'll see you all soon.
May the spell be cast upon them.